Okay, we're live.
Let us begin by acknowledging that we are gathered today in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral, present, and future territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Today, we gather with the intent followed by the Living Peace and Friendship Treaties, with respect, cooperation, and coexistence. We are all treaty people. I call this meeting of Town Council for June 9th, 2026 to order. I will take approval of the agenda or additions. Councillor Carver.
Approve the agenda with the slight change of adding the 9.4, just a report, an update from the Climate and Environment Committee.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hoffman, you had your hand up
Oh, it's just second.
to move. Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. So, any other additions? No? Okay, with that, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed, the motion is carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to the minutes. The special meeting minutes of May 25th, 2026. Any errors, omissions, additions? Okay. We will accept those as they were presented. 2.2, the regular meeting minutes, May 28th, 2026. Are there any errors or omissions? Additions? No, being none, we will accept those minutes as well. We are moving on to announcements by council members. Councillor Boone, you had a successful event this weekend.
Yes, absolutely. We, at our last council meeting, we had the Epilepsy Association of the Maritimes, our local families, the Cullicutt family, present to council. And on this past Saturday, we had the walk run event for epilepsy, and really well attended at the Saltbox. People ran, it was 5 kilometers, 2-kilometer walk, and just helped to bring the awareness, and really great event, and really thankful for the mayor for joining us at that event as well. And I think that everybody really appreciated that. So anyway, it's just a cause that will continue. That's its 4th annual, and we'll hopefully we'll just be able to, just continue to bring awareness to that important issue for people.
Great, thank you. Councillor Carver, you had
Yes, thank you. Last week was the accessibility awareness week. And the Accessibility Advisory Committee sponsored or hosted an event held at the Modal Chambers. And with a very good attendance from many people across the county. There were 3 first voice people speaking about their experiences living with a disability. And one of the most powerful comments from the speakers came from a 20-year-old who with profound hearing loss and the challenges that she has faced and addressed. And it proves that her hearing loss is her identity, it's who I am. And if people don't take it seriously, they're not taking me seriously. So if they're talking, because she reads lips.
yes.
So that hit me very strongly as part of my identity. So.
Yeah, it was a very good, a well spent afternoon hearing those first voices. Let's see. I'm going to give a little shout out to the on June 14th and 15th, the Mahone Bay Museum will have hold their annual, it seems to be, House and Garden Tour. Tickets are still available. You can get them at the Farm Safe or at the museum. And I think online there's a way to get them. And we also want to thank the members of the museum who gathered and others for our first German Settlers Day flag raising. And it was wonderful to see so many people there for this, and we appreciate the museum's participation. And Halferman raised the flag and gave a little update on some of the houses within the view of the bandstand that were on the tour or were of significant heritage status, and it was really nice to be right there and being able to see all that. So we really appreciate how volunteers in our community are so strong, and we've seen that with some of the events that we spoke about today. There'll be more trail events. I know I went to one on Saturday as well, for the Dynamite Trail. Our trails are well maintained by volunteers, and they work really hard. Plus they fundraise and they're wonderful volunteers. I went to the Dynamite Trail, and I think there will be one on Father's Day for the Bay to Bay Trail. I don't have the date right in front of me. I do have a poster in my office. And there's one at the town hall, but keep your eye out for it. It's those events are usually very informative. And if any of you walk the Bay to Bay Trail, that has recently been really updated, and lovely picnic tables. And I noted the person who did the heavy equipment work on the trail has donated picnic tables along the trail as well. So you'll see little markers there, which is a very kind gesture. Okay, so moving along, we have do we have anyone here to speak? Okay, sure.
Okay,
Okay, do you want to come and state your name and your civic address?
sure. My name's Jim Evans. Some of you have met me in the past. My civic address is just outside the town boundary, 54 Mayor's Cove Road. I'm here sort of like represent the company that I'm speaking to the agenda. I don't really know what the title is, but somewhere down there, it's matters dealing with stormwater, stormwater management. Okay, and I owner of a company that is an owner of property that is subject to the matters dealing with stormwater design studies that are involved with the town for a while. Particularly, it's property up there at the confluence of the Dynamite Trail and the Bay to Bay Trail. It's a triangle-shaped piece that the water course runs through it along the parallel to the Bay to Bay, capturing water upstream, obviously, pushing it down towards Hernsburg and below. Me and my partner, we've been running this property pre-COVID in a bit of a civic public purpose manner up to now, and sort of as a hobby project, let's say, people with some ideas and machinery and a little bit of spare time. And you've seen the results there. It's been significantly clear. The waterway is maintained. It flows well. It'll flood. It will flood, but it's a lot better maintained now and more accessible, and I think more appealing. You get positive comments from it. This time last year, some reports started coming out, pointing at the flooding down at the main Clearway, pointing at different alternatives, including upstream diversion, vis-a-vis a retention pond, pointing at one property that can do it, triangle piece that we're talking about. It sort of it meshed with, the perspective that we were bringing to the table, because the idea it sort of is it's going to be prone to flooding forever, just given the nature of the property that it is. So the combination of circumstances coming together with respect to the WSP study that we funded, and my company's interest in promoting that type of development for the property, migrated towards a series of conversations that have occurred over the last year that resulted in Bill and I formed a bit of a collegial relationship, engagement of Fathom Studio to do another design study to prove out the concept of developing that property towards a stormwater park management with an ecological edge to it. No hard landscaping, minimal hard landscaping. Look for green edges. Look for public service extra benefits tailored around use to a stormwater park. That report came out Jan, Feb this year, and you're going to get a detailed look at it. I think it's gangbusters. I think it's great. I think, I think it's hard to argue with the logic that's coming from Fathom and WSP in terms of what the right answer is for stormwater on this side of your town. And it's pointing to that project. Hard to argue. And you'll see that it's aesthetically appealing, and you'll find that it's cost effective as well. Ecologically attractive, cost effective, lining up. Outside conditions, you say it's also layup. There's a few. We are one of them. You got to talk to the company that owns the property. One outside condition is, big check mark. We're promoting. We're in favor. We have some ideas of how to work with you in terms of control of land, to have control of land so you can make the funding applications. It's critical you have control of the land funding, looking at cooperative ways to work with in that regard. It shows that it's meant to be, because aesthetically attractive and ecologically attractive and economically attractive, it's like a natural bath. It's meant to be what it is. You get us behind it. You've got some circumstances line up towards success. The one that's outstanding is the right of way associated between our property and the trail. Party that's not here. Party's been asked to come here a number of times. Awkward situations in terms of response. It's DNR, and the situation is such that if they don't, the project could not go ahead with them because they're contemplating dedicating their right of way to being flooded. The Fathom work to exceed does not jeopardize the trail integrity. That's a constant, will be maintained. And you need, but it seems to me, from my time spent, you need control the right of way. I'd ask you to find the time and resources that Lauren and her team to push that as far as you can, because if you get over the hurdle, the other things fall into place. It'll show as aesthetically appealing. It'll show as and it'll keep you from tearing up Main Street. That where the problems are. That's it. Identify myself, say I'm from Fauna, and make a pitch for help with respect to the DNR.
Thank you.
Good, Jim. Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting.
I'd like to tell them that. Brian, I can't, questions. Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah,
Thanks,
Jim.
Any other? No more comments? Well, then we'll move on to our next item, which is a presentation from the protocol officer of Nova Scotia. We're quite honored to have here at our council meeting, Ms. Julie Langell, and she's going to talk about the Order of Nova Scotia.
Setting that up. So, Your Worship, councillors, thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. I have packages. I don't know if you printed the packages, but I do have them here. So if anybody wants one or wants an extra one, I do have some here that I can share with the group. As Your Worship said, my name is Julie Langell. I'm the Chief Protocol Officer for the province. And I work for a division of Nova Scotia's Department of Intergovernmental Affairs called the Protocol and Honor Secretariat. Our division is responsible not only for the Order of Nova Scotia, which I'm going to talk to you about today, but also the province's flag guidelines and half-masting directives, state funeral policy, provincial table of precedents, any incoming dignitary visits to the province. We help assist with the coordination of those. We are the liaison between the Honorary Consular Corps and the government of Nova Scotia, and we assist the government with events throughout the province. I tell you all of this to extend our assistance to the town and to any council. If you have any events going on, if you have any questions about flag policy, if you have any members of your community that might need the honorary consuls, they represent 35 countries around the world. So if they're having issues with things like passports or any issues like that, we can certainly assist. So just extending that to everyone. So if you need us for anything, please reach out anytime. And I have business cards attached to the packages as well. So but today, here to speak to you about the Order of Nova Scotia. We started an initiative to get the word out to towns and municipalities this year in hopes of increasing the number of yearly nominations. This is a very interesting year for the Order of Nova Scotia because not only is it the 25th anniversary of the Order, but also we've had some significant changes to the legislation and regulations surrounding the Order. So I'll share some of those today. So let me just.
I had to do this a weird way, so.
Okay, we'll just move to the next one. Which is, yeah. So what is the Order of Nova Scotia? The Order is the highest honor that can be bestowed on a person in the province. As I said, this year marks the 25th anniversary. It marks outstanding contributions in fields such as business, academic, community, leadership, volunteers, or public service. And who's eligible for the order. So this is one of the changes to the legislation. So historically, it was someone who had to be resident in Nova Scotia, and that is a change. So now it is anyone who has an association with Nova Scotia, doesn't necessarily need to be born here or live here. Who can't be nominated, politicians, judges, or groups. So this is an individual honor, recognizing individuals within the province. And you can do posthumous nominations as long as it's within 1 year. So the next one. And how to nominate. So we have online on the website, it's just the Order of Nova Scotia website. You can go onto it, and it has the nomination form. It has information on how to write a compelling nomination, all kinds of information on there. The nominations are accepted year round. So you'll see sometimes on the website, it says that it's April 30th. That's the cutoff for this session, but then it starts over the very next day. So it's all year you can submit nominations. The nomination basically needs 4 people, so a nominator and then 3 testimonial letters. It's all laid out on the nomination form. And there is an opportunity to file additional information. So if there's newspaper articles or certificates or something that you want to make sure that people are aware of, that can be attached. Selecting recipients. So we have an Order of Nova Scotia Advisory Council, which I will talk to you about in just a second. But basically, our job with the Office of Protocol is to collect the nominations. We check them for completeness and that they're in the proper form. And then we pass them along to the Advisory Council. So they have them and they make the recommendations, of course, for appointment. There are no fixed quotas or categories. And another change this year is that previously it was that you could nominate 5. We usually had 5 recommendations of 5 people for the order, and that has been increased to 10. So we'll be taking more, up to 10 people. So there would be an opportunity for more people to be recommended for the order. And the Advisory Council consists of the chair, Chief Justice of the for Nova Scotia by virtue of the office, Clerk of the Executive Council by virtue of the office, 3 members appointed by the Premier, 1 leader of the opposition, and 1 by the leader of the third party. So that's how the Advisory Council is made up. It's an independent group. And the insignia, just I brought it with today. I thought it might be nice if you wanted to take a look. Send it around. This is what the insignia looks like. So just go to the next. So the insignia is presented by the Lieutenant Governor on behalf of the King. It is a stylized Mayflower bearing the shield of arms of Nova Scotia and a royal crown. The insignia is worn with a blue, white, red, and gold ribbon and also presented with a lapel pin for daily wear, something like this one. Members of the order are entitled to use the most nominal Zone S or ONI for Francophones for life. And so basically, in a nutshell, that's the presentation, very short and sweet. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I know you can send in the same nominee multiple times.
That's right, yes.
Up to how many times?
So for 3 years. So you can contact our office and we can outline, it's sometimes it's just a matter of resubmitting the nomination form itself, which is very short to fill out. And you can resubmit up to 3 years in a row for that. And then you could still nominate, they can be nominated again. It would just have to require a new package after that. And I had another question at one of the other presentations that I did that I just wanted to bring up. And the question was, can it be someone that has made a significant contributions to their community, but are not necessarily well known to the whole province? And the answer to that is yes. So what we're hoping for is that you as council can find some people within the community that would be worthy of this honor and make those nominations happen.
Is there a list of the, this is one, I think it's something wasn't.
Yeah, so on the ONS website, you can just click on it and it says, it has a list of all the past recipients and their, I believe their citations are on there too. Yeah. So,
And their portraits are at one government.
so they've done some redecorations, so they're down right now.
Okay.
They're moving back up, but yes. Yeah.
And is there like a specific event that you hold every year?
Yeah, so
Or
the advisory council meets. Once they meet, they make the recommendations. Then there is a investiture that we hold. So, and the timing varies depending on when the advisory council can meet, but the investiture, we've done them historically. We've been doing them at Government House. The Lieutenant Governor, of course, is the Chancellor of the Order. So we've been holding them there. We did have one, I think, a few years ago. I think that we held at the Westin just because of the numbers of people. And again, with 10 people, this might change because the number of guests and attendance varies. So with more people, more guests, and so it could change. But yeah.
I remember Myra Freeman doing one at someone's bedside.
Yes, it's been known to happen. Absolutely, yes.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate
I
it.
know I've written many letters of reference.
Yes.
I've yet to see one of those people nominated.
Yeah. Oh, lovely.
Like, well, nominated, but it's they're getting lots of people.
They are. Yeah, yeah. It's a great honor. So
How many nominations are reviewed each year, roughly?
it depends. Some years there's 100. Some years there's 75. Some it just kind of depends. And now with 10 people, with the number of recommendations being increased, we're hoping that the number of nominations, yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And we know how to contact.
Yes,
you.
please reach out anytime.
Okay. Thank you so much. And you're welcome to stay as long as you.
Do better. I'll just leave these packages here in case anybody wants them, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we're moving on. I see there are no correspondences for this meeting.
No, we just came so closely on to the previous meeting. I think there were only 2 business days for correspondence.
Oh, okay.
that year.
But before we move on from that topic, I just wonder, because there's clearly an effort to recruit more nominations, whether there might be a small item in the town hall news, just letting people know that the opportunity is there.
Yes. I think the time period is, they have to be in March, the end of March or mid-March, it's usually. The applications usually don't go in until anywhere between January and March. Most of the time.
So the applications can go anytime.
Well, they can go, but you have till that date is when the heat really gets on people to get their letters written and,
Anyway, just a thought.
yeah. Okay. The report, item 7. Nine council. There were several items complete.
Several items complete, certainly some things where the timeline has shifted a little bit, which is probably mostly explicable, but happy to answer any questions on them.
Mayor, just had one thought on item 2. I think we'll talk a little bit more about this on Wednesday evening at our session around the asset retirement obligation. Council Paltram and I've just been going back and forth around that item and the timing and whether October 26th is realistic timeline to get that piece of work completed. You know, I have an opinion. It seems wildly optimistic to me, but maybe on Wednesday night, if we could just carve out a few minutes to talk about being able to step up to that item and
Yeah, my understanding is October, we would be presenting a report to the audit committee, presuming it has been constituted.
Yeah.
About how we expect to and what the timeline would be and costs associated with actually completing the asset retirement obligation. So it's October means new finance
the plan.
manager in place, new audit committee in place. We can have a plan that we would then agree to. Yeah, so not to oversell how.
That strikes me as much more plausible than actually resolving the issue. Okay.
Yes, Councillor Hoffman.
Yeah, the purpose is to allay concerns of residents that see a conditional audit report. This is explained at the meeting what this is, how we're the same as others, face the same problems as other municipalities and so on and so forth.
Yeah, the qualified opinion.
That's right.
And it's, it is worth mentioning that this is an incremental progress item. So while there is, a finishing of it that needs to be done, we are making progress with respect to asset retirement obligations. And if you look at the way we've dealt with this building and the Public Works Garage, we have made a number of the steps necessary to eliminate things like asbestos and other concerns that would have then come back to be necessary for quantification and, planning around asset retirement. So we are getting closer every month, every year to satisfy this expectation.
Yes, no, it's certainly no surprise.
Councillor Carter.
Yes, I have 2 questions. One is around number 3, the ongoing issue of the fire drill. So it says that the expected date of completion is June 2026, and the percent completion is 25%. So I'm just wondering about how we're going to get from 25% to 100% by the next meeting.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I've asked the fire chief to convey to the membership the town's request on a couple of occasions. And obviously, they had responded that they weren't interested to do that work in the winter, and they would talk about it again come spring. So I have met recently with the fire chief and reiterated that we were looking for an exercise. So my expectation is would be on the members' meeting agenda for their June meeting, and hopefully would then become the next exercise thereafter. But I will be waiting for the fire chief to update me. So either we'll have a plan or at least an update, hopefully, and possibly an exercise by the end of the month. But yeah, no guarantee of
And
that.
possibly a complete.
I sure hope to at least have something planned and be able to get that off the list.
Yeah, that'd be good to get that off the list. So I have a question also about number 10, the designating hedgerow as a one-way street. And I'm wondering what kind of consultation there's been with the area, the residents on that street and area.
There hasn't been any consultation. I mean, we put out obviously the same information to everybody that changes, but there hasn't been any specific consultation. So when we go out to put up signs, we would let people know, but we weren't going to let people know ahead of that time. If there's a desire to do that, then I guess let me know now, because we'll put a little lead time. We're not in a rush to get the new signs out, so there's no harm in giving people some lead time. but it wasn't really intended as an appeal period on the decision or anything. So in that sense, I think we, probably better off to just let people know the new stuff is up. And, we'll be happy to hear their observations of it once it's in place, and if there's any issues people run into.
Is it worth thinking about a letter drop, at each door along that area? I mean, if it were my street and I was only notified by a sign that appeared on the street, I'd be a little puzzled whether they'd prefer to have a letter drop explaining what was going to be happening.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking we do that door knock, leave behind thing when we're putting up the sign as opposed to ahead of time, but there would be an intention to go door to door and have something to leave behind.
Okay.
Does that leave time then still for people to change that or?
No, well, that's my point, is that there was no appeals period or intention to consider appeals. If there was, council should tell me now, because normally there's no appeals period and something like that. We would just make the change, and then if there's issues, we'll.
That item was telegraphed over a 2-year period on
Yeah, we should-
lots of all that council meetings, so I doubt will be any surprises there, but to the degree there are 6 houses there, and out of courtesy to Councillor Carter's point, it's worth leaving a note, either on the door or
Mhm.
by phone call, just so there's no
And
surprise.
there will be some social media, because more than just the residents use those roads. Anyone coming from the Mahone Bay Center would frequently use them and going, it'll change the traffic patterns for sure for people. There'll be a few head-on, I'm sure, close calls the first few weeks.
And then there's the duck crossing.
And the duck crossing, yes, the duck crossing. I just want to go back to the other item you mentioned about the fire drill, I hope there's a date before the commission meets, because that's something the commission meets before our next council meeting, so I hope it's at least a date is given out for it before then, so that the commission has that information when they need.
Yeah,
for
I'll
the AG.
underscore that to Adam.
Yeah.
Would be places.
Help us help you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other items? No? Would someone like to make a motion to accept the staff? Councillor Beanie, thank you. Second by Councillor Bloom, thank you. All those in favor, signify aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you. Security camera policy, 7.2. This came up May 28th, and
It just required 2H1 meeting to ensure everyone's had time to consider the policy.
Correct.
And get any feedback.
Mayor, I move that we adopt the security cameras on public property policy as presented.
seconded by Councillor Copeland. Any further discussion, comments? Okay, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Moving along to, Mohawk Fire District, memorial request, so that's pretty straight.
Yeah, so I mentioned recently meeting with the chief, and one of the things we talked about was this request and the opportunity potentially to also improve access around the side of the building from the main parking area to the front door, so seems like a win-win. I'm happy to take any questions.
Mary did have a few questions about this item. So
Right.
do we have any idea what the budget estimate of the initiative is? Do they have?
No, I mean, they've intended to pay for it with fundraising, but I don't have a sense of how, big they're talking about going. If the comparison was made to our front entryway area out here, so you're talking something like that, plus the memorial itself, they're probably talking between $30,000 and $50,000 a word.
So, I mean, altruistically, I think the memorial sounds terrific, but I do wonder, given the fact that council's raised the fire rates for 2 years in a row, and our friends and partners in the other regional areas have raised them as well, and we've made close to $2 million in fleet investments in the last 2 fiscal years, and we've got a $390,000 outstanding loan on the auditorium still to pay, and there's an expectation of fundraising. I think most of the time is going towards firefighting functions and firefighting equipment, firefighting fleet relative to, bricks and mortar, curb and pavement, outdoor benches and such. It's just, I wonder if the timing is right. Now, load that I would ever pose in a request from the fire department seems very unusual from my perspective, but I do wonder, given council's recent experience on these significant costs around curbs, concrete pads, benches, landscaping, like, would anyone be surprised if this is a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 investment? And I just wonder about, sure, we can give our approval, but really what we're approving is steering fundraising that would have normally been deposited into the equipment reserve or facilitating the payment of the loan that we've backstopped on the fire department's behalf. And we're reallocating that to exterior upgrades, which I don't know, maybe they're important and in a perfect world, you just snap your fingers and it would magically happen and everybody would be happy. But I do wonder, given that we just raised the fire rate by $0.005, and we did that last year, it wouldn't break my heart for us to get a little more feedback around the limitations of the budget. But anyway, that's just one opinion. What do you all think?
I didn't consider that myself. I read it. Councillor Faulkner?
I think it's worthwhile having more details, not on the memorial itself, but just on the ancillary developments that Councillor Feeney just reported on, voiced an opinion on. So yes, a bit more information would be useful. Some containment, some level would be probably useful.
Dale?
So the funding involved here, obviously the fundraised funds are not positive with the town. So there's a difference between the funding that is donated, obviously, which goes into the equipment reserve, and the contribution that is mandated through the town's agreement with the fundraising society that they put in every year for the hall, payments in the hall that were referenced. But the majority of fundraised funds, the 50/50 funds, the bingo funds, are deposited into a private account maintained by the firefighting society, so the fundraising arm of the department. We don't have any commitment from them to contribute to future capital purchases. So, one thing might be to take this opportunity to work out some type of arrangement. We know there are more trucks coming down the line with that society in terms of their ability to contribute from the fundraising to the long-term capital costs of the department. It would be great to have some type of MOU with that society, obviously. Maybe, tying that conversation to this discussion isn't a bad thing to do. I don't know, that's council's prerogative, but I would certainly favor the idea of more transparent or, something opaque about something clear that we can actually come back to with respect to the fundraising contribution to capital.
Just to get us not too far off the beaten track here, but when we look at the fire services budget and we see the fundraising that came from the fire hall, which is very material now, which is kind of giving a lot of comfort to everyone, including the fire department, that it was a very wise investment to support the auditorium, because the auditorium is generating significant fundraising. I think it was north of $150,000 last year, according to the financial statements. But are we saying that those receipts, that revenue that's noted in the fire services revenue, is not the entire fundraising effort by the fire department, and there are funds above and beyond that get earmarked to some other third-party account? Is that?
Yeah, so the only thing actually reflected into our budget is the $65,000.
It's the 65,000.
Yeah, everything else, I believe it's like 100,000 or more.
Yeah.
That goes into a different account. And so when we've done a major capital purchase, the department historically has come forward with a contribution, some percentage of the total cost.
Yeah.
But that isn't something that is subject to any type of arrangement. That's an ad hoc arrangement.
So I guess maybe the takeaway here, in the interest of moving along, is the $65,000 contribution from fundraising into the equipment reserve has been a long-standing number. Like that number, I think has been the same number since I joined council. So maybe the issue, maybe that is the issue. Maybe that number needs to evolve over time. Or be a percentage of the overall fundraising raise. Fair enough.
Councillor Drew?
I'm just looking at the information here and just to piggyback on the comments is, there's no timeline in this, like for saying when they would do this, or whether this is a fundraising that they're just gonna do this over the next year and raise the money and, or they're gonna do it in one fell swoop type of thing, you know what I mean? Like, so maybe just some clarity on when they would plan to have this up and complete.
Yeah, I can certainly talk about that. In terms of fundraising, I can tell you they already would have sufficient funds that are not committed to deal with whatever the cost of the memorial would
Sure.
be. The bigger question is just, if there's $500,000 in a bank account and half, say 50,000 is spent on the memorial, what is the disposition of the remaining, and I'm just making up numbers, $450,000? Is there a commitment for that to otherwise be spent on a truck? If we're talking about magnitude of 10% of the total fundraising going to a memorial structure, that probably would be relevant information for council to know. I have no idea relative to the total fundraising, what percentage this memorial structure would be proposed to constitute, but I would guess it is not more than a fraction of the money that they have at this point already raised or would expect to by the time that we purchase our next truck. So I think it'd be great to have some direction from council to actually reach out to the society to discuss contribution to this and other projects. That would be something that I think we could action, in lieu of the motion that is proposed to have direction to reach out to society to confirm arrangements for the memorial and other capital projects going forward.
Well, I guess, Mayor, now that the CAO is, indicated that the funding is entirely coming from sources which the town has no pledge against anyway, and there's plenty of funding in that particular bank account to do this project, then strikes me that we should move along, and I'll move that the council does provide permission to the Mullen Bay Fire Department to install a fire member memorial on the grassy knoll. I'm not sure what the grassy knoll, if that's what we want to, if that's what it's colloquially known as. However, on the north side of the fire hall, subject to the final design, which will be approved by the town.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Copeland? Okay, seconded. Question by Councillor Carter?
Yes, I guess, would like to know more about the pathway, the walkway that's referenced. I have never liked this plan of having the parking on one side of the building and the public entrance on the far side of the building. There are handicap spots on that front side. But there are many people who are mobility limited and who may not have a disabled parking sticker, making them eligible, who have to walk all the way around. It's also been my experience that when we've held meetings in the community room, in fact, we arranged to have the hall door open to walk right through the hall. It was a flaw in the plan originally, so I'm just griping about that because I think it's very problematic. But the grassy knoll and the walking area, I can't quite visualize what it is that they're planning there. At the moment, when you walk around, you have to walk essentially what's in the street, in the traffic lane. So are they proposing
Walkway inside, they sort of reference our front here.
like that?
The pathways come in and there'll be a type of
Yeah, so you would essentially be, instead of having to go around the curb where the roadway goes, you would essentially be following the actual outside of the building.
I see, closer to the building.
Yeah, and then that path would essentially separate, some benches or whatever from the building, so you'd have that memorial area similar to what's here on that end piece. Is what I briefly discussed with the chief.
Okay, that helps me visualize that better, and thank you for listening to my breakdown.
Well, and for anybody who is interested in describing about the building, I always, feel compelled to remind people that the building was designed in 2 phases.
Yes.
And, we did not, at the time of finalizing the design, know there was going to be a hall, so that did result in some changes to access that were not ideal.
Councillor.
Oh, just to mention that this motion is about a memorial, not all the ancillary pieces.
Yeah.
Access.
Yes, we'll have another conversation when the design comes back to be approved by the town, so patiently wait to see what the magic looks like.
Yeah, this is really to give them the indication that there is support, so they're not, doing work to develop a design that the council wouldn't want them to be doing. So I think this is, will be well received.
Okay. Any further questions, discussion? Okay, all those in favor, signify aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you. All right, 7.5, electrical rate flow through application. Oh, sorry, stormwater projects. 7.4.
Well, and maybe you're skipping it because Jim already did a good job speaking to this report, but it hasn't actually come up yet. But yes, following up on Jim's comments earlier, we have had some progress and do have a recommendation, hopefully to get DNR on board with moving forward. I will note that this recommendation only speaks to the formal application because there was just a motion of council at the recommendation of the Asset Management Committee, the right to the minister. And so it's referenced in this report that we could use that letter that has yet to go to also support our application here. The letter was about coordination of stormwater with DNR. This is very much an example of the sort of coordination we would hope to have.
Or could we do what they did and do the work and then ask for the approval?
Yeah, I think they might know this before we get very far.
Councillor Booth?
So I just wanted to understand the clarification from what Jim said, and what you're saying is that, so DNR owns part of this property that we want to make some change or change.
Yeah, essentially Jim's property, the property that he referenced that is privately owned, and they were willing, the owners, to put up for a study.
Yeah.
According to Fathom, who did the design work, can handle about 80% of the maximum flows in a major storm event.
Yeah.
And so they would suggest that we divert the maximum flows only in the event of a major storm down the DNR corridor to Ernst Brook. So essentially creating like a, maximum limit to what the piece of private property that Jim and the company that he represents would be putting up for a potential solution. So it's sort of a part B, supplementary to that, having access to the rail corridor between that property and the Ernst Brook. So yeah, it would require permission from DNR, and staff have walked with DNR and they understand what we're talking about. We have yet to formally apply for it.
Yeah.
Councillor
I just like I said, this is extremely encouraging to see this development. It's been a long time coming. The problems that towns face with overland flooding are well known, and this is a major step forward in addressing the issue to the benefits of all. So I'm very strongly supported by the Asset Management Committee.
Okay. Councillor Wilson?
Yes, I think it's quite an elegant design. I assume it'll work. I don't know. One of the questions I had is the cost of doing these renovations, assuming the engineering altogether, is about 1.3 million. But Jim alluded to the fact earlier that there is some need for control of the property his company owns when you make presentations to whoever to get this done. I guess DNR being one. Does that imply that the town's being expected to purchase that land of this company?
So they're certainly willing to and expect to see the land end up in the town's hands at the end of the process. We're exploring ways to either affect the improvement and changes as part of the transaction of the property, or prior to or post the ownership change, based on, as Jim alluded, the funding qualifications. So if we can obtain a property that has already undergone changes to it versus obtain a property and then make changes to it, those are the kind of details to be worked out, but acquisition of the property and some level of compensation for that is sort of anticipated within that larger concept.
So it's 1.3 million plus.
Which could be, donation receipt, like, we don't have a, fixed amount of money that we're expecting for that.
So the auxiliary question to that then is, does this investment obviate the need to do the $2 million culvert?
Yes, this is a direct alternative, so if you follow the, the attachments, you're going from the, we need something like $2 million for the culvert, and then WSP saying, well, you're looking for diversion solution to be under 2 million, and then this is assessed at 1.3, and, I think we're going in the direction of a cheaper solution as we go.
But my understanding was that culvert, the existing culvert under Main Street is collapsed at least in part and will need to be replaced in any event in some form.
Yeah, we would be digging up that section to do the raw water, wastewater work anyway, so it was just a question of, is it going back in the same size that it was designed previous, or close to that size, or is it becoming a box culvert with a completely different basis for the engineering and space?
So let me be clear, so it's 1.3 million plus X for the property itself, plus another X, we call it Y for simplicity's sake, for replacing the culvert. So it's probably somewhere north of $2 million in total.
Yeah, I doubt it's north of 2 million, but if you want to consider the culvert renewal as something that would be like a, part of the overall cost, then I think you're getting closer to that.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I had my head right.
And
Thank you.
that, the carbon.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to take this opportunity to pick up on the theme that I wanted to introduce later on as input from the Climate and Environment Committee, because this is it's a great project. I really am in favor of it and will certainly support it. But what I want to comment on is that this is a great example of a nature-based solution. And this is what the recommendation is going to be coming from Climate and Environment Committee at our next council meeting, is that the town have a policy on nature-based solutions, so that instead of relying on the hardware, culverts and so on, we're using the nature to solve the problem and looking to the natural features that we already have to solve the problem, and that are often less expensive. So this is a lovely example of a nature-based solution to a problem that the town is facing.
Yes, and they are cost effective as well.
Cost effective.
For municipalities like that. Yes,
I
Councilor.
just have one niggling design question, and I don't know whether it matters or not, but I see that the trail is proposed to be rerouted somewhat so that it goes right in front of the existing cottage that's on that corner and the new shop that Rebecca Tuano and her friends have opened, so that it actually goes between the shops and their parking area in the revised version. That seems to me somewhat awkward.
Yeah, I would say that that's still to be determined. I mean, if we're proceeding with this, we would definitely need to engage with the property owners on there. But it was a nice opportunity, I guess, to consider the configuration of the roadways and the intersection. And in the past, we've had recommendations, you folks would know, to reconfigure that intersection fully into either a roundabout or an actual all-way stop. So that's the sort of thing that might come out of larger discussion with the surrounding property owners if everybody wants to take the opportunity, because we still have a lot of complaints about safety on that corner. So, if Fathom weren't asked to really engage with that, this is just a conceptual rendering.
Just want to find not to ignore the other part of this, which is the Jubilee Park proposal that will come forward later on in the year, but it's a similar approach.
Yeah, we'll expect something similar to this drawing eventually for that, which may incorporate other adjacent properties and
Sorry.
Okay, that's all right.
So I don't think we got the motion on the floor yet.
Oh,
Oh,
We don't.
um,
I'll make the
the motion.
Okay,
The council directs staff to apply to the Department of Natural Resources for use of the rail trail corridor for stormwater management purposes, in addition to its continued recreational use.
is there a second?
Second that.
Councilor Wilson, thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, calling for the question. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you. Now we'll go to the 7.5, the electrical rate flow through application.
So I'm never especially excited to bring these, but I think everyone's been expecting it since Nova Scotia Power's decision has been, the board's decision by Nova Scotia Power has been made public. I did note in here for context, just because I think it's relevant for the public as well, the Nova Scotia Power's recent residential customer rate increase was 3.1%. So we're looking at, catch up, 2.7% is recommended. So, comparatively, our customers are 0.4% better off relative to their compatriots across the boundary.
This is, how long does this process take? Whenever I see the energy board, I always think about lots of lawyers.
This one shouldn't be. This is a formula that they approved last year, which did take some time and some lawyers. So this should be relatively straightforward. The preparatory work is complete, and I would just expect to submit and probably get, we may be the first one to submit of the group, but we'll probably get less than a dozen information requests. So I would expect that they would make a decision within the month.
Okay,
This would probably be pretty quick.
all right.
I don't know whether they'll allow it to flow through to June 1st. They'll probably make it effective July 1st. So that means we've missed 2 months where we're paying an SPI at a rate and we're not passing that on to the customers. But usually does happen. It's just the reality of trying to time it to the board's decision.
Councilor Wilson.
This, if I'm correct, this increase has nothing to do with the fuel adjustment mechanism
That's correct.
bill that we're gonna
I
get.
didn't include that. It is a possibility, but because we haven't determined how we would treat that obligation, I didn't include it here. It is eligible for flow through or inclusion in our general rate application. Just depends which one we get to.
That's a big ticket, correct? That's about 10%.
Well, it depends how it's treated. So if it's recovered over 2 years, you're talking almost 10%. If it's recovered over 10 years, obviously you're down to a more reasonable 2.5.
And this, this flow through increase, was that contemplated when we reviewed the cash flow statement from the Solar Garden? Just through the budget process?
Yes,
Months
this
ago?
is the SPI rate increase that was.
That was
reflected. So we knew at that time.
That-
was going to happen.
But that rate, it's just this rate, not the rate that's being posted for January 1st, or the second.
Yes,
the
so
second
that
increase.
neither the Solar Guard monitoring nor this flow through include the next January 1st increase. We would have to go back for another.
Yeah,
approval at that time. Yeah, it will be very simple to do that one.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Mayor, I
Any further
move,
questions?
I'm sorry, folks. Mayor, I move the council direct staff to apply to the Nova Scotia Energy Board for the flow through of electrical rate increase equivalent to 2.7% in customer rates effective as soon as possible.
Okay, moved by Councilor Feeney. Is there a second? Councilor Boone, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed? Councilor Boone, are you not voting?
Sorry, sorry,
Okay,
I seconded it, but yes, I didn't.
okay,
I voted.
the motion is carried.
Now for the one you were all waiting for.
Oh, yay. I did have one comment for that. In our discussions, the diagram here sort of had Mahone, isn't it? Mahone something. And I had thought we had said, it had the Mahone and then it had the name underneath. I thought we had agreed it would be Edgewater with the name underneath.
Well, that's why it says additional direction is required on the language for signage, for example. So
Oh,
it does,
okay.
that is certainly something additional
Okay.
direction is
I
required.
just want
So the motion is on the naming, the recommended motion is just on the dayway, but then I do need some additional direction. Since we've said we put something in front of it, probably for the physical signage, what do we actually want in front of it? Do we want Mahone or Edgewater? But I'll let you first decide on the name. And just.
Councillor Carver,
I would like to make the motion, council name the new multi-use path along Edgewater Street as the Bayway.
okay, Councillor Copeland, second. Okay, any discussion?
Just like to comment, a bit, it's summarized in the report, that there was considerable public consultation and quite a wide variety of suggested names. And all the suggestions were winnowed down to 10 or so that came by council and then prioritized, and that's how we arrived at the Bayway.
Okay. Well, I think it was the votes we had in our family. Very similar to them. I think Harvard Path was a favorite too. So I don't know, but others of you had little lotteries going on. Or what would be the
And it's been fantastic to see the usage of the
Yeah, very much.
Bayway,
Yeah.
just amazing, the difference between.
already
Oh, yeah.
not finished,
Yeah.
but it's being
Yes,
used.
Only demonstrated to me that I should have put the dog waste receptacles out for paying for your trip.
Yeah.
You just think you're gonna get a week or so to get all the pictures in.
Kevin Booth, Councilor Booth.
Yeah, I just, I think there's been at times a little bit of confusion going through this process and just unclearness, and we talked about the idea, I think that's what we had talked about our last council meeting, about having Edgewater associated with the name in some way. And I just, I don't know, I'm just kind of making the comment from what I've kind of seen, like I kind of feel that people refer to it as Edgewater, but Edgewater Bayway, does that work? I don't know.
So that's the part B. If we name it Bayway,
Yeah,
do we want to start referring to it in long form as the Edgewater Bayway? So that's my follow-up to the motion here. I need to know, because we're doing a sign, we could either be putting Mahone, Edgewater, or nothing in front of Bayway.
So we're first picking the
right, yeah.
name, and then we will move on and do if there's anything else needed with that. So,
So it's a motion therefore.
yes,
Thank you.
So the motion's on the table now,
Yeah.
think about the Bayway
Yes.
name. Yeah.
so any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed? No.
So now that we have the Bayway as a name, and right after this, I'm gonna ask Kelly to tell the guy to start chiseling big letters in. Do we just want the physical sign to say Bayway, the Bayway, the Edgewater Bayway, the Mahone Bayway? And then I'll try to make this the last time I ask the question with the name, but, I guess from a signage perspective, I put it as the Mahone Bayway, but I'm actually thinking maybe if we're using the, it should be the, and then whatever the word is, and then Bayway, like 3 levels.
3 levels.
With just a little the on top.
Mayor, so I assume, Kelly, that like this signage is gonna be of a similar quality to sort of the Bayview Cemetery sign, wood, painted wood, and I think in those examples, like we did have a snapshot, like we did have the artist rendition based on their CNC, and then like that might be helpful. That might be
Do it by email, but we're not.
Yeah, but
we
by,
have another-
I'm just.
Just because we wanted it in before the opening. July.
It probably won't be like the Bayview sign as much as the Park Cemetery sign. Especially if it's 3 levels high, to do that on a solid piece of wood.
Versus, so like rectangular, long and lean versus square.
Yeah, but the material, it's a material difference. The Park Cemetery sign is, I forget what it's made of, but it's like a 1/2-inch material, where the Bayview sign is a solid piece of like 3-inch wood. That's why the Jubilee Park is in 2. I mean, it could be solid wood in 3 different panels.
Based on the positioning of, we kind of expect the sign to have to be offset to the side of the entrance to the trail We did look at overhead, but it's too challenging to try to have it.
And where will it be?
At each entrance,
At
and they'll
each
do it,
entrance,
Eddie's
yes.
and then, by the colored washroom building.
Okay.
And this sign will be a couple feet off the ground versus like it won't be in the air, it'll be sort of.
Yeah, so at the
way
Kenny's
slower.
end is really easy, like at the Kenny's end, you've got room there on the grass where you just, the end of the parking lot, Marco's parking lot. You would be able to have a sign quite obviously there on the grass that is low profile. But on the other end, there isn't anywhere to put a low profile sign. So the challenge is, you know, you're entering at the teaser, the best positioning that we could really come up with is to have the sign be, you know, essentially offset so that it's on the water side of the trail. Like if you're on the trail, it's facing the roadway and the trail from the water side, because that's the only place we can find to put it, which means it has to be a height equivalent to the fence. It would be a little bit higher.
Councillor Carver?
Two things. One is I think the simpler the better, in terms of not too many panels. And the second is, could it be elevated in the same way that the signage at the little bridge, the footbridge, can it be elevated like that?
Not really when we looked at it.
Like overhead, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the only issue we have with overhead is that you're already going to have trail gates and trail signage, which are, you know, metal. And so if you're building an overhead structure, you're basically building like a wooden corral archway thing to put the sign on, which otherwise wouldn't be there. So I think we felt with the gate, it was just too
a lot.
much. Yeah, the gate that's a, you know, to keep ATVs, that's the regular trail separator gate thing. Which isn't gonna be yellow, which is gonna be white, with the white is the color of safety stuff, so it's not gonna be yellow. But yeah, so, you know, we just thought it would be offset next to that as opposed to above that.
So I could just do a couple, I guess we need to decide on the name first, but we can just do a vote by email. I could do a couple different designs and then,
Because obviously it's a much smaller sign if it just says Bayway or the Bayway than if it includes another word like Edgewater.
it could be like the
Yeah.
Bayway, left justified kind of thing.
Councillor Bolton?
Well, I personally would just fine with the Bayway. That's what we're talking about. If there is to be something smaller above it or related to it, seems to me that what we have there is the signature feature of the town, and is the Mahone Bay town, not the Edgewater town. So I'd be inclined to the Mahone Bay way itself, although I'm quite happy with just the Bayway.
Sure.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of wisdom in that view. I think the most consequential outcome of this process is that we purposely not use trail, and I think over time that'll really benefit us because of the ATV. Inevitably, there'll be a desire that to be used for ATVs, and I think building up specifically, wording that now is wise. So
Councillor Wilson?
Doing the best we can.
Just anecdotally, today I had to stop my bike ride in town to a lady who had her Toyota Eve car parked on the trail so she could get her mail, so
interesting.
ATVs may not be the biggest problem.
Interesting.
Right.
So I think we have some consensus around Mahone Bayway. Is that or just Mahone Bayway? The Mahone Bayway?
The
The
Bay?
Bayway.
The
The
Bayway.
Bayway.
The
Fair enough.
Bayway, yeah.
The Bayway.
That's what, pardon, that's
Really
what, that's what.
simple on the sign.
The Bayway.
And I was just bringing that up because about Edgewater is that was kind of part of the previous discussion. But I'm flexible on that. I think it works. Kevin.
Okay.
Mayor, if Council
Is it
Paul
by
Turner wants to.
consensus, or do we
Yeah,
want to?
yeah.
I don't think we need a motion. I mean, we just did a motion saying Bayway, and now we just decided the sign will just say the Bayway.
Yeah.
I think we're good
Yeah.
on that.
No,
Well, the motion actually was the Bayway.
But we can put, yes, I guess it's sort of quotation for, I guess we can, still send a mock-up by email just to, you know, if there is a choice at all. And if there isn't, then it's just to say, this is what it looks like. I don't think there'll be too many choices about configuration now that we're down to such a short.
No, it will just be, is it wood like the Jubilee Park sign or is it painted like
I mean,
Park
because you can
Cemetery
put
side.
the bayway all on one level, it will fit better along the top of it at the entrance.
Don't-
by the-
don't
by the
spend-
washroom.
Don't spend $19 million and print
No.
out on the sign. Go, feel free to
These
do
signs
it.
are very affordable anyway. The
Well,
option is
I-
pretty good.
Well,
Yeah.
wood would be great.
Yeah, these
I
would be
think it
wood,
would.
yeah, and it'll be totally separate from the metal gate and sign, so it'll just be a separate thing.
Okay, so it's okay.
So we're done.
Okay.
Good job.
That-
Very,
I should have my easy
200
button from my office, but like,
I
that
think
is
that must be
easy.
a record, isn't it? 207 responses? That's
I think the
pretty
logo's up more, but
Oh,
the rest of
We're
it.
not talking logo anymore, can we?
Okay,
There's Vinny's in the background, he's got to give him a nightmare flashback here.
7.7, planning development services.
So this report was requested for information, and obviously it's a very high level report, and I could have just said the recommendation was for information, but it really does come through that there is essentially one clear recommendation in terms of the planning and development services, and that we probably should make it clear that we have a strong interest in that. I mean, I'm not ruling out that if that fell through, we could move
So-
forward with a different option.
Is this for all the services we are asking for?
Well, the motion references planning and development as well as building and fire inspection. There is in the report a reference opportunity to contract for engineering services. That would be to be determined. That's not in the motion.
Who are we contracted with now for engineering services?
It's an ad hoc. We go to different engineering firms for every project or need.
Okay.
But what that has resulted in is increasing need for the review of a third-party development proposal. So like we're reviewing stormwater submitted to us by a private developer. And so it's often the work is in relation to a development proposal. So to have the same team at MODL who could review the engineering side of the proposal as opposed to having to go out to a separate engineering firm to do that review, there's some obvious efficiency there, and MODL has indicated an interest, but that's to be determined. Just kind of jump right into the report there. Happy to answer
Councillor
questions.
Carver?
So two things, I guess following up on that discussion, that would be on a fee for service basis. Then.
The engineering thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think because we would also potentially apply it to the reviews under the stormwater management bylaw, we would need to have a kind of a fee for service for each time there's an engagement. And we would have to contemplate, as we've been, Jonathan and I have been contemplating, if we need to start passing on the charge, if somebody applies for stormwater management permit and there's a cost to the town to have it reviewed, that notionally that ought to be part of the permitting charge for those developments.
So apart from that, I have a little bit of difficulty with the syntax. So the recommendation is that council indicate the town of Mahone Bay's intention to contract. Does that mean supports it, approves? What does that mean? Indicate.
You could use a different word if you want there. It was essential to say that, like, in principle, we are inviting MODL to give us a formal proposal, that we are indicating our interest. The council is indicating interest, that this is not something that MODL would be wasting their time in putting the staff time and energy into.
It's a solicited response.
Yeah, just so, I could say that the town indicated its support. I don't know how you want to phrase that, Penny, but it really doesn't matter much to me how we phrase it.
Okay, so it's indicating to modal.
Yes.
Okay. Indicate, can we say that council indicate to modal, the town of Mahone Bay is interested in contracting?
I think that'd be fine. Yeah.
Would that be okay? Did you get that?
Yeah.
In which case I'll make that motion. That. I can't remember what I
And
said.
indicate to the District of Lunenburg
I
the
think it-
intention to contract with.
Yeah,
Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Complement? Councillor Boone, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just curious, like, what, I don't see any numbers in here. What do we currently pay Chester for doing this service? And so we're expecting a proposal from Lunenburg, so we haven't got anything yet. Is that correct?
Yeah. I can circulate the actual documents and numbers and things from our Chester contract. I just, I felt like it was something that ought not to be made part of the report.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But I'll circulate it to you folks so you can go through the whole document and then if you have any questions.
Okay. Thank
Because
you.
we've also talked about opportunities to build into that document a little bit more specification of the service standard. So one of the things that you might want to look at in the document is, the relative lack of a service standard and whether that is something we would contemplate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I will circulate that.
So we're still waiting on something from Bloomberg, did you say?
Well, so, what is indicated in this letter from Tom is that they would prepare a formal proposal.
Okay.
We're gonna, if this motion passes, be saying, please do, it's not a waste of time, we move on it. But we would need to receive that to get into the numbers.
Okay.
And then, at that time, I think there probably would be an analysis of, how do these numbers compare with alternative numbers and what we've been paying and everything else. But without new numbers, it just wasn't, there's no comparison I could make at this point.
Yep.
But I'll circulate the existing one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, calling for the question. All those in favor, signify aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you.
Interesting to see us sort of gradually working our way back to a regional planning commission model.
I know.
If there was one.
I
And,
remember
at the end of the
those
day,
days.
MRDL will be calling the shots, but they've essentially got a regional building and fire inspection now. And talking with us in the town of Lunenburg, they're pretty close to regional planning and development as well.
That happens when you hire all the employees qualified to do the
And
job.
it is valuable to have them all in
Right.
one shop, right? You want your building inspectors for the whole region to speak with a relatively unified, you don't want people calling up and saying, well, I got a completely different answer outside of town. That can be challenging. Definite advantages.
Okay, any there are no council items today. Wow.
Well, you guys also only had like 2 or 3 business days to do the next thing.
So anyway, we're moving on to committee reports, 9.1, Lunenburg County Senior Safety. Nothing more to report than our AGM is taking place June 24th at 1:30. And all are welcome.
Can
It's
that be sent out? Could that information be sent out? It's gonna be
okay.
virtual or?
Yeah, I can forward the letter that I received from the
Yeah.
chair, which is an invitation, so I can do that.
May I speak to that report?
Yes,
I just had an opportunity at the accessibility awareness flag raising last week to speak with the senior safety coordinator and hearing from her the increasing complexity and direness of the issues that are coming up in people that is handling many homeless seniors, a number. It's hard work. And one of the things she said is that being embedded in the police service, she gets a lot of support from the dispatchers and other members of the police force, because doing that kind of work, you really do need to have a peer context in order to be able to continue doing it. It's hard work, hard issues.
we've been asking the minister for increased funding to hire help for her. Some municipalities have like their big center, their hub center, like we consider Bridgewater, a hub, and then they'd have a second coordinator for the county part, and we've approached it as us having a hub of Bridgewater, and then the county of Lunenburg. We still have not heard from it's been months and months and months. We've asked the local MLAs to prompt the minister at least for a response. We've had nothing at all. It's very discouraging. There seems to be more and more of no response to letters that go to ministers. We saw that with DNR Energy. It took a long time to get that energy letter. And that took some extra prompting. It's very challenging, and her scope of work now is unrealistic for one person to do. And the more that funding is cut to services, the more that's falling on her shoulders.
Yeah.
And she's triaging is what she's doing. She's triaging her caseload. So many people are not getting any kind of service as the list goes. So it's very unfortunate. How we change that, we don't know. Whether It's just really challenging, but it's really showing how difficult life is for so many people in their society currently with the high cost.
And it falls in the middle gray area of whose responsibility is it to address social issues, the province or the municipality. It's at the moment, we're still putting in equal amounts.
Yeah. Exactly. Anyway, thank you for those questions. Item, it says A, but it must be 9.2, no? Summer,
It's the newsletter from, the senior safety program.
oh, you mean the monthly report?
No, they had a summer newsletter.
Oh, did they? Oh, I didn't see that.
Stuff too.
Yeah, it must be public facing, and it was interesting to read through it.
Yeah, no,
Well, it's, if you want to, you can.
all right. I thought it was just Lisa's report. Anyway, asset management committee. No
No motions this time.
No motions.
motions, fine. Okay. Planning and advisory committee.
We do have one there.
Are we able to, give this item first reading?
Yeah.
Today?
Yeah.
Oh, good,
Yeah,
okay.
so we'll talk about the hearing timing.
That one's scheduled already, I think, right?
Can I make that
Good
motion now?
opportunity.
The other
Yes,
one?
you've made
Yeah.
it.
I'd like to move that council give first reading to the proposed amendment to the town land use bylaw to rezone 19 Aberdeen Lane, PID 603-76456 to residential core.
Second.
Second, Councilor Carver, thank you. Any discussion? Okay. A lot, there's
Good
no.
turnout for the public information meeting last night.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
the only turnout was the owner speaking in favor of his own request. But there was certainly some good
Yeah.
turnout.
Oh, this was the,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of them going on right now.
Yeah.
Keep it all straight. So this one is scheduled 15 minutes ahead of the next council meeting.
Yeah, so the actual hearing, so if we give first reading now, we have time now to schedule the hearing to take place ahead of the next meeting on the 25th. But while we're talking about hearings, there was another discussion about when to schedule the hearing that would be coming on the amendments to the land use bylaw. So this is the housekeeping amendments to the land use bylaw. And there were a couple of proposed dates and times that would be great once we're finished this motion, if we could lock it in, but since we have a
Can
bunch
we vote on this motion? Okay, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. Now,
So since it's related, and it just seems like a good opportunity because you're all here in the room, we normally do our public hearings in the evening, and so we had with the council members and suggested some possible dates in the evenings. For this is the hearing that would result from the land use bylaw amendments, housekeeping amendments.
We just proposed the 7th, which would have been the PAC.
7th of June.
Oh, yes.
July.
At
The thought was that we
6:30.
would actually go at 6:30, and then after that, the PAC meeting could take place. So you have some good synergy with people coming out that night as opposed to having too many evenings, if we can avoid it.
right.
But it does mean for those who would want to be able to vote, obviously, this would be a hearing. So if you're not on PAC, it is an extra night you'd be being asked to come out. So that was just to confirm that would be acceptable to everybody. And if one person can't make it, it's, you just can't vote when it comes to council.
And that's
Okay.
coming to the council on the 14th.
Yeah, so that would be coming to council on the 14th.
Okay.
And if we just wanted that one to be, not on the same night as the council meeting in case there is a larger attendance. So that'd be. Because it could be of interest to anyone. We don't know. There may be no one, maybe no one. It's always keep
Hard to let them know.
okay,
Okay, so it's always good to schedule both here.
We do fully expect there's going to be amendments to the amendments, don't we?
Well, that's what's hard to know. You either get a lot of interest or no interest at all.
History tells us that there's going to be amendments. I would
and
think.
I'm just
Anyway.
wondering if the clerk, if you could send out an email
I'll send out a calendar invite for that.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, she did for the 25th.
It's been getting confusing with people understanding what meetings they're going to,
Mhm.
and so if we understand what the topic is as well, it's a pin and.
And making it clear, I think that the hearings are mandatory if you want to vote on the matter, whereas the PIMs are not. So,
Right.
yeah, which is important.
Right. Okay. Yes,
And in terms of, information being made available to the public, what steps will there be between now and the public hearing on July 7th?
Like to inform the public of the meeting or of
Of the
substance
content.
of the meeting?
Um,
Well, the staff report.
Yeah, I think in the, what we discussed was that we would be putting Emily's staff report, so it's the original report plus the updates from PAC that council then gave reading to. So that would be on the website, people would be directed there by ads in the newsletter and on social media.
I mean, it's a more complicated because typically the ad that we put out for an amendment or for a bylaw
Can actually sum.
says exactly what the change
Yeah,
is, but the ad would be 4 pages long if we did that with
The
this.
issue on these amendments is that, in the absence of having the clarifications that were made by the planners or being at the PAC, I mean, a reasonable person would read verbatim some of the clauses and think that they suggested quite the opposite of what they suggest.
Mhm.
I mean, we had that conversation at the last council meeting. The clarifications were mission critical to resolve the issues. And then obviously intense trust that, okay, you say that doesn't mean what it says black and white, then I guess I agree. But I do think that there will be a reaction to some of the changes, the same way that people around the table had the reaction. And it's just coming from a place of just not having the benefit of having the report. So maybe the problems all do go away when Emily and the team are at the meeting.
But given that it's a hearing,
But who
there's a
knows?
good chance that we just can't get ahead of it and we end up having to go to another hearing.
Well, I think it's more likely, and this is just prediction time, it's more likely we're gonna have a large, lengthy, written response. Like that would be my guess, right? That there's gonna be a 3,000 word response, which is fair enough. Like that's what the process is all about. It's just, I think predicting this, I would say it's likely that we're gonna be revisiting this at the second council meeting in July versus the first council meeting in July. But anyway, that's the process we all live
We
and
can
die
do
with.
more to encourage people to ask questions ahead.
I think that is wise if there's time sensitivity here, because, the team was very comforting with the responses and just kind of eliminated the issues. It's just, anyway, we should.
Yeah, I think it's something that, I mean, not everybody's gonna go for, but Claire Louise would probably want to be able to get, not only get the questions, but put the answers out publicly using, more of a home base.
Yeah,
Those
like-
lines. Whether that, I agree,
They should
somebody's
be.
likely to miss all that,
Right.
still write a lengthy submission, and it may get warrant to.
We need a frequently asked questions that says, oh, does this mean I'm not allowed to have a short-term rental in the commercial core? And even though it says that, and no, that's not what that
Yeah.
means. So anyway, there are a few other things, but anyway, preaching the converted again.
Yeah, maybe we'll just actually see if she wants to take a swing at the frequently asked questions for the get on board even before we get questions.
Be complicated to, we can try it and see how it goes. The only thing is like Emily doesn't have access to get on board. So then there's just like
Well,
4 people involved in
it's
this
what
process and
What always happens, I mean, it was the same thing with Ralph, but behind the scenes, would have to just get the right people to supply Claire Louise with information.
yeah.
Yeah, and at the very least, find every opportunity for the community to have access to the actual document
Mhm.
where the proposed changes are marked. Because not everybody would have had the opportunity to go through the
And
package
it's a long.
the first time around.
And we could take a stab at like trying to make a document that would explain which.
Yeah, we'll just have to see what makes more sense. I don't, sometimes you don't want to try to put and paraphrase the actual changes, because it's like, well, the changes are what they are.
Yeah.
We'll try to explain what the implication of them is.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we talked to PAC about when we go through all this, and then if we do contract with MODL, the next year we'll do this again, but their
Yeah.
planners have a different sense of interpretation around the same points.
You know, so you're gonna get the benefit, come to the meeting, ask your question, get an answer from people who understand what the document intends to say. And then two, I mean, Emily is at the town hall on at least once between now and.
Yeah, it would be
right?
much preferable if someone gets reading it and gets confused, or, you know, that they come and talk to somebody.
Feel free to come on, feel free to come on
Because
over.
chances are, like you said, if they get the explanation, that will allay their concern.
Exactly.
They may not really have any need to complain at the hearing.
On Thursday, I'll get Claire, and Emily and I in a room and we'll
But that would be great.
come up with a plan. So,
But what's wrong with what we had, like when you had the red marked out and then the new?
Well, I think Deputy Mayor's point is just that, like, a lot of people will be more confused seeing how the sausage is made, reading something in there and not realizing the interconnections between, you know, that point and some other part of the document. Sometimes when you let people read the thing, they go off in a different direction with their imagination. And just having the clarification might be helpful if we could get there.
All right. Very good. That concludes all our business. Are there any questions or comments? Anything from the gallery? Any questions from the gallery?
No?
No? Okay.
Could I just check,
Yeah.
check with my colleague here, whether there's anything more we
Oh,
want to say?
because you
about
did
the,
have
uh,
that update.
Yeah, it was just that they're putting together a presentation for council, right, on the, what is it, again, it's
The nature-based
the
solution.
nature-based
policy.
solution policies.
Oh,
And,
and it's worth noting because it's not just gonna come then in the minutes of the committee,
Yeah.
but they also wanted to come and speak to.
correct,
So
correct.
they'll do, would they fall under presentation time or how is that?
Could be public
There are a committee.
It can be committee reports.
Could be fall under committee reports and they can speak there.
No, they want to speak at the beginning of the meeting,
Okay.
either on the public input or as a presentation, whatever is recommended.
All right.
Yeah, I think either is fine, so maybe we should just determine if they're comfortable with what Jim did at that level of not putting up slides and just speaking to it.
Yeah.
Or if they really want to be able to put these slides, we should probably make it
Well,
forward.
it should be a presentation.
Yeah.
Like we want to be able to ask questions or unable to ask questions if it's simply,
That's a good point.
like it needs to be, there needs to be structure. If it's coming from an individual as an individual, fair enough. But if it's coming as a presentation from the committee, it should come from under the presentation format.
But we don't have any scheduled presentations at the next meeting, right? So there's
I think we
plenty to
do.
Yeah, so this.
I was just gonna say, and the fact of suggestion that it's a presentation from the committee does not preclude having it first.
Yeah, fair enough.
Sure.
But they're just as
So,
well.
yeah, I suppose that's true. We just got the approval of the agenda, we have it at the beginning, and the point of having them speak early is to be able to speak to it before the actual motion comes. And we don't need to force them to stay for the whole meeting.
No, of course.
And the reason, for taking the time with this is that it has been our experience with other former recommendations that have come from the committee, well, from any committee, because the committee itself spends so much time working on something and a recommendation that's coming to council, the council may sometimes feel taken by surprise or not fully understand, what fed into the recommendation. So because it's a new approach, we talked about the idea of having citizen members of the committee speak, because that's where the expertise is coming from. Having them speak directly to council rather than having it filtered through the two council members on the committee. So just in the same way that any member of the community has the ability to speak at the beginning of a council meeting about an item that comes later on the agenda, in an effort to provide information to council about the request from the Climate and Environment Committee, that the members have that chance to speak to council.
So just to make sure we have the cadence, so it's gonna be a presentation from the committee with associated documentation. Then there's going to be a notice of motion later on in the meeting, and then the next meeting, the following meeting, there'll be a motion.
No, it wouldn't be a notice of motion, it would be a motion recommended in the council, in the committee report.
But Joe is somewhat correct, because it's a new policy. The committee
It's a
report will be
policy,
coming forward
yeah.
saying at the next meeting, we recommend this to be adopted. So, you're
Yeah.
correct, Joe, in that, like, it's not coming under new business, it's not coming under council, it's coming under committee reports, but it's saying at the next meeting, so at the next regular meeting, this policy would be recommended for adoption, because a new
Or
policy can't be moved to the motion that it's at, the meeting that's introduced at.
Or can't you do that?
They don't have the policy. You have to have the policy for 7 days.
And I just wanted to add to what Councillor Carver said. It's, for me, being a new member in that committee, it's just, it took me like, just a discussion or a little bit more to really understand what the goals of this were. So I just kind of feel like if we just have it presented as council, we'll, I think it just takes a little bit of understanding, and that's why we wanted to have a presentation and then some reflection. So.
Okay. So the timing will be, we'll have the proposed policy on the agenda as a council, as a committee report next time. The last June meeting, and the committee members could either use that opportunity to speak that day or the following, when the vote will be taken. So-
Yeah, I think to Deputy Mayor's point, I mean, there is some expectation that generally you would not be at the meeting pushing for decision at the same meeting. So if we have a presentation slot, I think it would be better to do the presentation when the minutes come and then have the vote on the policy at the next meeting. It's definitely more standard.
Well, coupled with the fact that it's unusual now that we have any introduction of new policy that at least hasn't had some oversight at the policy and strategy meeting at the end of the month. So kind of coming in cold, knowing nothing about what the policy is going to say, or what the intentions are, or what the unintended outcomes of the intended intentions are. My sense of things is that we're going to probably want to listen and try to understand, and then contemplate, and then there'll be a normal process. But I think it would be wildly optimistic to think that something's going to get rubber stamped at the next council meeting. But that's just, again, one opinion.
Would it make sense for them to present straight to policy and strategy, and that would count as council having?
I don't think so. I think council still has to refer it back
I
there.
think the other issue, to be frank, and this isn't really a commentary, but this specific initiative, which I'm sure has lots of redeeming qualities and merits, but generally, where council directs the committees for pieces of work and policy work, it's not generally that things bubble up from the committee and just land on the council's agenda, for which council has no time to deliberate.
This was referred from council to the committee.
This item
The development of an injury solution policy.
came from council to that
Well,
committee.
the committee recommended council direct them to develop the policy, and council did direct them to develop the policy.
Well, I stand corrected then. And I'll wait patiently for the answer to all the questions. Apparently, we're waiting with bated breath to receive. So, okay, well, fair enough. That's interesting. Wow.
The process can be cumbersome, and at the very least feel cumbersome. Because when we talk about this at the Climate and Environment Committee, when we talk about the options of going to the Policy and Strategy Committee, the feeling was, what? Just one more step sideways, or it just felt like a barrier. It felt frustrating to do that. And then I'm also thinking, I could totally understand the Deputy Mayor's point about things being discussed at the Policy and Strategy Committee when there's more latitude for that kind of discussion. But the recommendation from the Planning Advisory Committee came straight to council and didn't go through Policy and Strategy, where we would have had more time to go through some of the many items that were included in that. And as I said at the time, I was overwhelmed by the number of them. But it didn't go to Policy and Strategy. It came straight from.
But it went through PAC. If that was the one that went through
What came from, straight from PAC, didn't go through
Well, it
policy and
was,
strategy.
that was several meetings.
Right, but at the policy and strategy,
Yeah.
they both been
With
at the planning advisory committee. My point being that it didn't have the opportunity to be more thoroughly discussed at policy and strategy.
Councilor Hilferman
Well-
and then Councilor.
Just very briefly, my sense is that these things, if they are complex and presented to council, then it does get referred by council to policy and strategy where that discussion takes place.
Yeah.
It's not the other way around.
Yeah,
I think that's the way.
yeah, and we'll have that option.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just not to put too fine a point on it, but the housekeeping amendments to the LUB are not policy changes.
Yeah.
There's not any reason why they could go to the policy and strategy group.
Okay.
And I would just comment also that it does appear to be complicated, and it is complicated for a reason, because you cannot, the council, I don't, in my opinion at least, cannot be subjected to lobbying from the committees to just make willy-nilly changes instantaneously on the recommendation of often unelected people.
Yeah, I think our system actually has worked well and serves the council well, and sometimes we just need to be reminded why all the checks and balances exist. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, so our business is done?
Mhm.
Okay, how many people did we have today?
Might have lost a couple through that discussion.
Eight.
Yeah.
Eight,
Eight.
wow, one extra staffer one. Okay, so our business is complete. I will take a motion to go into closed session for MGA 22-2A acquisition, sale, lease, and security of municipal property. 12.2 MGA 22-2C personnel matters. 12.3 MGA 22-2DB alleged breaches of the municipal code of conduct. 12.4 MGA 22-2E contract negotiations. Would someone like to move that motion? Councilor Wilson, second by Councilor Boone, thank you. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. We will take a short recess so
So-
people can grab